Do you date regular guys? No. I have. Big mistake. You know why? Because I'm not a regular woman. You know why? Because these ain't no regular times. I date men who consider themselves extraordinary, who consider themselves capable, who consider themselves responsible for where things are and where things are going, and who are doing things that back it up versus just talking it up. This is no time for being regular. I know that it seemed revolutionary to be mediocre at that one point in time, but baby, I simply can't support that. Because mediocrity is what has us here, in the throes of a white supremacist global imperialism, where they're literally holding on for dear life, white knuckling their way to keep everybody at bay who they know is better than them. And we're not better simply because we have some sort of skills or because we have some sort of talents. We're better because we are more connected to the universe. We're more connected to the earth because we believe that it matters and we are of it. I say all that to say that I date men who believe the same, because they know that they have an obligation to not simply be regular, but actually to be spectacular.
Today is my 100th episode. And I'm beyond proud of myself for that. You know, when I started doing this, I had no idea why I wanted to do it. I just felt like I needed to. And I did not know how much I was going to learn about myself through the process of just setting up these cameras and talking. And the level of work and patience and discipline that will be required to prepare for people, to prepare for the conversations, to respect their time. Like the ways in which all of these small little things are intertwined and connected to other things, it's just mind-boggling to me. And I know that we're here to talk. The theme for the conversation for me is cost, at least in my mind. But a part of the preparation for the conversation was learning about Amanda Seales. And the reason why I started with the shit I started with was because it's hard for me to listen to her. And I've got to do so much putting me to the side to listen, to connect to what someone else is saying, because I'm doing so much projecting. That woman is loud. She's opinionated. Monique is one of those other women that are like that for me. And a lot of it comes from like triggers and remembrances of my mother. And I'm glad that I had the assignment to just push through and listen to her, to really connect past the words and to connect with the energy and the spirit with which a lot of her sentiments are coming from. And I thank you for the opportunity to do that so that we can have, I think, a deeper conversation beyond just her as a person and more about just what she represents and how that type of archetype or person, you know, gets labeled and put into all of these boxes and sort of things. And so thank you for the time to say all of that. I know you had no idea that I was going to start like that, but yeah, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be the 100th.
Yeah, right, right. It's a blessing. So Amanda Seals, what was it about her that made you recommend that I watch her?
Well, like you, before I saw that interview, I had only seen her on Insecure, where she's playing a role, so you don't really know what anybody's like. And then I followed her on Instagram, and I didn't realize that she was so interested in talking about the world and less interested in promoting her next X, Y, or Z, like a lot of folks in Hollywood do and probably have to do to stay alive in that industry. Yeah. So by the time I saw that a lot of news outlets like the Griot, Essence, I believe, etc., took it upon themselves to write something about her out of the gazillion people on the planet that one might decide to write about, I took immediate interest in something more, which was then to watch 3 hours of her on Club Shay Shay, which I don't watch really, but I immediately felt like you might enjoy it because we have conversations from time to time, and there are parts of me that understand her fully. And when we were talking about something totally unrelated to her, that part came up in a question you asked me. And I was like, I feel that if you watched her, we would have a good conversation. And so it's so telling that you said that it was hard for you to watch. And so I'm curious, what parts of a loud, opinionated woman makes it hard for you?
Like I said, it reminds me of my mom. And as much as my mom and I have a much better relationship, there are these ways in which I respond to that kind of energy that resemble the way I respond to my mom. When my mom is yelling and when she's being boisterous, sometimes that energy, I feel like I have to be, I don't want to say smaller, that's probably not the best word, but it puts me in, sometimes two things can occupy the same space and sometimes they can't. And with certain personalities, and because I have a certain personality, it's I've gotta try to leave, not try, it's better for the situation to make space for that person.
So it reminds me of the thing that people say that I mostly hear men say, things like, I want peace, happy wife, happy life. They're not going to say what they have to say to keep the peace. But in that process, they abandon themselves because in that moment, they choose this perception of peace instead of each person having an opportunity to express themselves, right? Or feeling that anyone who shows up like that means I have to choose not to. And they might not know it's a choice. They might feel like that person put me here. And I think that any human being who takes up a lot of space has the potential to make other people who are listening feel like they need to make themselves small, pause, take a break, allow that person to have the stage. And the question I ask myself in those situations, because my dad was a lot like that, is what am I losing in this moment by doing this? I know I'm not winning because it doesn't feel good. And it's not like I'm at the gym, my muscles are burning, it doesn't feel good, but later on it will be good. This is I had to abandon something about myself in order for this person to show up yet again, yet again, yet again. And they weren't showing up with these loud, boisterous compliments like, oh my God, you're so fucking amazing, right? It wasn't like projecting goodness on me, per se.
Yeah.
It was letting them get through it so that maybe I could probably have a moment or escape or not be there, right? So then my other question for you is, I noticed also in that interview that
Can I pause you for 1 second before
Yeah.
you get that? Before you hold the thought, right? You got a pen in
I
it.
got it.
I used to feel like it cost me something.
Yeah.
But what I'm learning to do through the process is I don't have to abandon any portion of myself in order to create space for other people. My overall objective is to connect. I'm learning and developing the skills and tools and muscles to connect. And a part of connecting means taking my ego, taking what I want from the situation or what I perceive I want from the situation and put it to the side so that I can actually connect, not with the words, but with the spirit in which the person is communicating. And because I have these initial reactions and triggers to people's energy, I'm trying not to make them responsible for that or make them feel bad for how they're showing up, but moderating the internal challenges that I'm having with dealing with how they're showing up and using that to filter through so that I can actually connect. So that's what I'm doing with my mom. That's what I'm doing with my wife. That's what I'm doing with even a conversation like this, getting cut off and those sorts. Not saying you, but just in doing this podcast, there are ways in which I'm constantly having to do that because in the past I was attached to something else, and that was at the expense of connecting to the other person. So I'm practicing dispensing with that so that I can connect, because even what I'm dispensing isn't me. My being of connection is who I am. So that's what I'm connecting to. So I wanted to make sure that I addressed that part. But that's practice, right? Me watching that interview was practice.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. It shows up. So anything that is unhealed in you will show up when unexpected or uncertain things happen. And so you're still working on it, which is why she had the capacity on a TV, not actually interrupting you, that you volunteered to listen to for 3 hours, triggered you. Because that shows up in your mind as something that in the past maybe you didn't feel great about, right? And so in my opinion, that's the beauty of life. That, you think you're done, you're like, no, there's more.
And that goes to a part of what I feel she was saying about being misunderstood and mischaracterized, because that's a 3 hour and 10-minute joint, right? I was managing my own internal shit like 60, maybe even a little past an hour into the joint. Because even how I'm hearing how she responds to Shannon Sharp, like there's so many things there that that I'm interpreting and responding to in my mind about things. I'm not listening to her, I'm responding. And in most cases, we are responding to people. We're not listening to them. We're not connecting to the spirit. And if we are intellectual in nature, as a lot of us are now that we're degreed and a lot of other things, words matter. At least that's what we say, right? It's a critical part of how we communicate, but it represents, in my opinion, the smallest percentage of what we're actually communicating. Kids are a great example of that. As an example, kids don't talk, but even with me and my cat, we don't use words, but there's a way in which we're communicating and we know what each other needs and what we're looking for and how that kind of stuff goes. And we figure that out when we're not leaning so heavily on words.
So what is it? Maybe a better way the thing I put the pen in just hit me. Do you mind? So Shannon Sharp was loud and opinionated and often wrong in this interview. Did you feel triggered by him? Or just Amanda?
I understood his energy more than I did hers.
Exactly. I was really I didn't know what your answer would be, but in my head when I asked it, I said to myself, he's going to say, I understand him. I understood him. But you said it differently. But what I think we're getting, this is exactly what worked for me in this interview. I don't know her. I neither like nor don't like her. I don't have an opinion of her as a person because I don't know her, right? I'm not going to sit here and be like, I've decided if I like her. That is the wrong assignment. My assignment was to understand what showed up in me, and that's why I identified with her.
Okay.
Because I'm somebody who was rocketed to this earth with this covering, with this at this particular time, not in Japan in 1865, as a man. My soul is rocketed to this planet at this time with this covering under these circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that the soul that was rocketed here would have been the same one that was in Japan in 1865 as a man, right?
Okay.
It's just I would have had to filter my core differently. When you show up on this planet with a lot more than other people perceive that they have, you're in trouble.
Say that again.
When you show up on this planet, on this earth, among these humans, with more than other people perceive that they have, you're in trouble. And you heard the introduction. You heard her introduction. You can see that she can manifest all the things, right? And she's unabashed, unashamed, unapologetic about it. And is okay with saying, I have these things. I'm fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But she's also in a world where you're supposed to wait for those compliments, especially if you're a woman. You're supposed to wait before you say anything about yourself that's amazing. Let other people say it, then you know it's real. But also don't live up to other people's expectations. But also know that you're the bomb. But don't be too loud about it. Might make other people feel badly. And so I think you didn't get triggered by him the way I got triggered by him, because
Oh, you got triggered by him?
I totally did. Never got triggered by her. Wow. I was completely like, if he doesn't stop trying to tell her what her life actually was and interpret it for her and just listen.
That's what you heard from
That's all I heard, because that's all I hear. That's usually what I hear. If I say, I did this, I felt this, so-and-so. But do you think that maybe you could have experienced it differently? I really don't think I can go back in time and experience that differently. What I'm saying right now, can I reinterpret it? Sure. But the idea of telling somebody to experience something differently, to me, is a phenomenon of responding and not listening. Why is it that you feel you need to layer your worldview instead of saying, help me understand it? It doesn't interfere with your sensibilities as a person, as a listener. You still have the capacity to ask some questions about what they experience instead of asking those leading Noam Chomsky speech act questions, which is, but do you, instead of saying, I think that you are obsessed with race and it wasn't racist, they say, but do you think that it would be the same if she was white?
Wasn't he doing some of that though?
That was a problem though.
Okay.
This idea of not just saying, just say what you think. Amanda, man, you obsessed with race.
Yeah.
That was not racist.
Okay, just get to it.
Would it be the same if if so-and-so? Do you really think what you want to do is tell me what you think and that I'm wrong? Say that. Don't try to pussyfoot around it and suggest that get me to have this moment where, so here you go. That's not what's happening here. You actually just want me to know what you think about what I think about what happened to me. And you've gone past asking questions to understand. You are at opinion sharing moment. I think you're wrong. It wasn't about race. You too so-and-so. You too much. You too extra. Just say that. Let's have a conversation about that. That's real shit. I love that. But it's the speech acts like, I wonder if maybe that skirt is a bit short for the event. You want me to change my clothes? Oh, no. I would never. Well, then why do you wonder if it's too short for the event? You want me to change my clothes. Let's talk about why you think the skirt is too short. What is it that you're worried about? Let's go there.
Okay.
That's fun.
That's
Does
valid.
that make sense?
That's 100,000 trillion% valid. And I would have never come to that conclusion based on that, but I do understand what you're saying. So when there are two people having a conversation, how do you determine what your role is in the engagement?
My role almost always is to try to shut the fuck up and listen. That's almost always my role. But sometimes I don't get there quickly enough.
Hold on for a second. I've had a way more conversations with you than the average motherfucker, and that ain't never been the role you play with me.
I know. Like I just said, it always should be, but I don't get there quickly enough. I said I don't get there quickly enough.
Okay. No. Okay. See, this is why they shouldn't go to school. No, I'm just kidding. So, because she's a words person. What is your typical role? Your typical initial role?
Yeah. What role do you play versus what?
See, and this is communicating. This is why it's so hard.
I know. I'm like, I will answer the question that is presented to me.
Yeah, right. So, what is your initial typical role when engaging in a conversation?
To get to the truth of the matter. That's always my role.
How often do you feel you get there?
Lately, I get there 50% of the time. Before, I got there 30% of the time.
When you get there, how long does it take you to get there?
Well, sometimes I get there and the person doesn't know it. The 50% is getting them to realize and say the thing that I think I already know, right? I'm always proving a hypothesis in my head. There are about 5,000 going on at all times. So I hone in on one, and it becomes almost the adventure of the conversation. I think this about this phenomenon, this person, this environment, this climate. Do I know it? Let's find out. Sometimes I shut the fuck up and they reveal it. And sometimes I have to get them there without knowing I'm trying to be there, because they will inherently get away from it, because usually my conclusions are too real, too raw for people to handle, because that's where I live. And I enjoy it there.
So what do you think I just heard you say?
This just the response I said?
What do you think? In a man's translation, what do you think I just heard you say?
I think you heard me say that I am inquisitive, I'm an investigator, I'm not very trusting, and I think I know everything. I already think I know the answer and I don't like to listen.
Right. So the last part is what I heard you say. Mm-hmm. I think so you were talking about getting someone else to do something.
To express something.
To reach a conclusion that you feel you already know. Mm-hmm. So and that's what guys do, but in their guy way. Because at the end of the day, we're not coming to the seat, we're not coming to the table with a clean palate.
Yeah.
So we're rarely getting to the truth in your 50-50 mm-hmm. analysis, mm-hmm. or conclusion rather, percentage. Because we might think we are, in the same way that I thought, if I had not listened to Amanda Seale all the way through and I cut it off 60 minutes in, I would have had a conclusion that I would have stepped away from that with, that would have been 100% right and reinforcing in my mind. Mm-hmm. Would not have represented the fullness of who she was, because number one, there's an extra 66 minutes left in the episode. And for that full hour, no matter what, I was projecting. Mm-hmm. So if your objective in a conversation or in an exchange is to get to the truth, what metrics do you feel you're using to define whether or not you get to that conclusion?
Well, first of all, let me express that my quest to find out what people are really thinking or after doesn't always align with what I want them to think. Does that make sense? I'm not going into a bank trying to get them to get me a loan, so I'm trying to figure out what this loan officer is thinking so he gets the right formula so that I get the loan. I'm not manipulative. I'm curious. I want to know what you're really about. I want to know who you actually are. Most people don't want people to know that. My experience has been, especially men interacting with women with whom they have romantic and or sexual interest. Those tend to be, in my experience, the least honest among the people I'm talking to, which is why it behooves me to find out what this is really about. Does that make sense?
100%.
It also happens in workspaces where there's somebody, you're in a faculty meeting or something like that, where I felt like I lived, or I'm on stage giving a talk and somebody asks a question, Dr. Humbert, so I'm like, oh, here she goes. I'm already pre-thinking, what is this person after? Sometimes I think they're after something that's not good for me. Sometimes I think they're after something that's great for me, but I just want to know what that thing is. Sometimes I think that they're not after anything. And I love it, that can be the case too. But I'm just trying to figure out what this person is bringing. What are they about? Who are they? Knowing people deeply is extremely important to me. Not everybody, but if I'm interacting with you, I want to know you. I want to know what's going on. So I come with some kind of hypothesis typically because that's just the way my brain works.
What was it about her that resonated with you?
The two most important parts was that she is misunderstood and she is not protected. And I have felt that way many times in my life because of the way that I show up. I don't go out of my way to be liked. Being liked is something that humans understandably have born and bred in them, because we know that the traits that were passed down to us through our DNA for generations are the ones of the people who survived long enough to try to pass them down. Those are the people who had a community to take care of them. Because at some point, even if you were 7 months old or 70-year-old, you were vulnerable and you needed people around you to take care of you, especially if you're a woman who's passing on a baby, because you have a very vulnerable period of being pregnant, of when that baby is young, and you can't do things for yourself. You can't survive by yourself. So the people who passed on viable babies that eventually became us passed on those traits. So being liked is essential for humanity, right? To just survive. But at the same time, it's difficult to figure out how to stay in line with the community such that they protect you and make an effort to try to understand you, but also realize who you actually are. And like I said, being rocketed to this earth with this covering at this time suggests that women, especially Black women who are opinionated and educated and feel that they have something to contribute. They're not out to hurt anybody, but they want to be heard. They want to understand things in the world around them. When you don't present it in such a way where you're forgiving about your pursuit for knowledge, then you tend to be cast as somebody who is a know-it-all, thinks they know everything. I literally said that I come to this conversation trying to understand because I don't know, but I have a hypothesis. Yet I'm labeled as a know-it-all. It's the pursuit of knowledge in and of itself is an indication of knowing too much. And I do believe that in the same way that there is a idea that Black people shouldn't be reading and women weren't allowed to read, that being a Black woman, I'm not allowed to pursue information. And if I do and it upsets your sensibilities, then I know too much, or I think I know too much. There's nothing wrong with thinking you know too much as long as you leave room to learn more things. You're a thinker. If I'm a hardcore thinker, I'm going to think something first. I'm not going to come in blank slate. My brain is too active for that. But what I find interesting is that the pursuit of knowledge in a conversation, the goal to understand what's going on and having something that you're working with means you're a know-it-all. And I think that it's different if you are a white male British investigator who is a psychologist. It's like, oh, well, he's got all those layers. That's what his job is. That's who he is in the world. But for some people, you're not allowed to be that. And that's sort of been my experience. So as she talks about these things, I find myself going, yep. I remember that. That happened to me. That happens to me. That's why it resonated.
There is a, I don't think it's the acquisition of knowledge for me that is the challenge. in interacting with people who have acquired a lot of knowledge. I think it's the fixed position that they feel inclined to stand on, that the knowledge gives them or makes them feel compelled or rightful to want to stand on. So, and then the identity attached with it. Because I don't see any amount of knowledge one way or another being a fixed thing. But if your identity is attached to knowledge, then it has to be associated with it. It was one of the things that I felt came out the most, not the most, but big time with her. It was like, you know, I am a student of this, right? You know, I have this and this, right? So, and she was talking about one of the reasons why she went and got, you know, the higher degree and the master's and this and that. Right. So now there is this certificate that can reinforce this ideal of who she is, who she wants to have projected, but what is the cost associated with taking that position? A lot of times in relationships, when it's not enough to be right. If and typically those who have acquired a lot of knowledge and who find value in that also find value in being right, because that's what it's all about. And there's a cost to even being right. And sometimes the answer isn't to necessarily be right, because there could be a truth, to your point, that transcends being right. There could be a truth that is that lies within being wrong in the context of that conversation, right? So it just depends on what the person's aim is, but the ego-driven person, which is what I felt, and I feel like a lot of people's, I don't even want to put it to a woman, people's ego who are attached to some of the things that they're attached to is associated with the being right part. And I think that is the piece that was connecting, that I was responding to, because it's not just being right just ain't enough. And I don't know, because there's a being better too. And do you want to be right, or do you want to be better? And sometimes, and whatever answer you give as it relates to that question will determine the path that you take. And there are men. Yeah, so I'll just stop there.
So a few things that I think are interesting is my recollection of her saying, you know, I'm a student of this, is because she felt that there was somebody who was interjecting with sidebar information to question her on stuff that she knows very well. And so she got to the point where she's like, in the beginning, I remember her being very patient, but like okay, just leaving it alone. Mm-hmm. When he was like, do you think that maybe the people at school didn't say it because of this, you know? And then she got to the point where she's like, I know what I'm talking about, right? So I perceive that to be like, would he just let her be the answer and not make it about, let's just say it this way. I recall Cat Williams saying a lot of things that may, to a degree, have been almost, is it humanly possible to do that many push-ups? I don't know. And I don't remember an athlete named Shannon saying, you think that maybe the muscle fibers can't do that?
Yeah.
I don't remember the level of pushback.
100%.
But with this one about actual documented history, he's got opinions. And she is too intellectual and wants to stand on being right. Being right in this circumstance actually matters. She's talking about demographics of people who are historically oppressed. We can't have this conversation and let it sit where you just wanted to sit it, sir, right? And so I think she felt a bit of obligation, not so much to defend herself, but to defend the point by saying, I'm a legitimate person to say this. And your response is not accurate and could be damaging and perhaps have ripple effects that are negative to people, not us, we rich, we black, we rich, right?
But she was talking about her personal experience.
But she had said that many times about many things.
But her degrees, So
When she said I'm a student of this, I thought you were referring to moments where she said she went back and went to school.
no,
Okay.
so I was using that as an example
Okay.
that she was using to reinforce this person who she's saying she is. Because she said, there's some things that I know that I wanted to do. And in order for me to go do that, I had to go back and get these degrees.
Right.
One of the things that she said.
Right.
So what I really loved about how our conversation started was how differently you saw it and how differently I saw it. And something has to happen when two people come together and see something differently. And I don't know what we feel we're relinquishing when we concede or just let the other person do whatever it is that they need to do. So, because we're focused on the words, a lot of what the disagreements are, I feel, or the triggers is actually like the words in a lot of cases. And I don't know, which is something that I think causes the issues between men and women just in general, from communicating, from connecting and those sorts of things, because we're responding to the words. And I don't know how we're able to get past the words to connect to the spirit of what the person's saying. Because like you said, you feel that she was within her right, and everybody can make a justification for why they feel that they need to defend or be right in any particular case.
But you talked about people who have more knowledge or are intellectual and that they tend to want to be right more. My experience is that all people are validated when they're right. Even people who have zero, in fact, the people who didn't go to an official university but went to the School of Hard Knocks, they spend time with people at their level trying to be right too.
That's true.
And sometimes they die trying to be right over stuff that I go, the shoes? That's what y'all was shooting about?
Yeah,
Like
that's
in
true.
my head,
That's
I'm
valid.
like, I don't even understand it, right? But in their world, that's what matters. That's what validates them. I don't have to understand it in the way that they don't have to understand me. But learning, being right, sometimes can make you better depending on what you're trying to be right about. And sometimes it doesn't. If what you're saying, if being right is a problem, we have reached a level of let's understand this person where they're, let's get over, let's fuck the truth. Fuck what's right. I want to connect with you. There are moments for that, right? But when what is right is more important than how you feel, we need to get over you and your feelings. And my issue goes back to the idea of being liked, which is I can't take legitimate information from somebody because I don't like them. That is where we fail as humans. If I'm telling you this plant is poisonous, but you don't like you don't like the way I'm with the tribesmen, all right, go ahead on, eat it then. Go for that. Because you don't like me. Do you want to understand something new, or do you only want to be validated and liked superficially? I don't prefer to be valid. I want, if you're, as she, before I ever heard it, before she said this, I was like, I used to say this all the time. Please dislike me over something legitimate. But in their mind, it's legitimate, right? They don't like me or like somebody for something. And when you give fewer fucks about it, you start to actually see what's happening. When you get your feelings out of it and understand what's actually happening, you can understand that in somebody else's world, liking somebody is their way of saying, you get to be in my space. And that's okay if you're not in their space, but they will never say that to you. It's very rare to have somebody call you and say, I don't like you. Like the woman, the publicist who called her and says, don't you want to know? She's like, it's none of my business. You need to talk to your therapist about that. It literally has often nothing to do with you.
Do you think there's any blind spots with that?
Of course, there's blind spots.
Because
every single one of us has 5. We only have eyes going here, but all the eyes we should be covered with, we don't have them.
But that's in the pursuit. How many times has your right been wrong?
Everyone's right is wrong, and sometimes it's wrong is right.
So that's what I'm cussing. Because you made a statement. Sometimes being right, that's the hill you die on. So and my question is, when so the only time you know you're right is wrong is when you created enough space or enough time has passed. If the right has always been wrong.
Maybe not necessarily all. See, we're not talking about is the world round or is there gravity. And even there, if somebody is fixed on this idea that it's flat, I would say it's wrong, but in their world, it's the only thing that matters to them. We're not even talking about objective knowns in these conversations. What happens at a party where someone gets kicked out and who should have said who, there are 5,000 opinions and different perspectives. It's so naive and almost obtuse to suggest that there is just one right. In her head, what she or he or anyone else was trying to validate was right at that moment. Could they go back, revisit and go, at that time, that's all that mattered to me. And it felt right. Now I don't give a shit. That feels wrong now in this moment with this new information I have.
So perfect. But that's not the energy. That's not the energy.
What energy? What do you mean?
The energy that there's always room for the right to be wrong. Like she said, there's no reason. I don't know why nobody likes me. At least have a legitimate excuse why nobody likes me. Maybe, if you put everything to the side and listen and create, because the person might be talking for 3 hours. Maybe you're only giving them 60 minutes. And maybe the 60 minutes that they're responding to is either triggering you or your preconceived concepts is preventing you from connecting to what it is that they're saying. Mm-hmm. Because as a prime example, you can't see you weren't triggered by her in any way.
I was triggered in ways that weren't negative.
Okay. Right. Okay. My bad. So not any way. You weren't triggered negatively by her.
I didn't feel the need to decide if I liked her or if she was right or wrong. I just identified with that disposition.
So somebody's listening to her and is being triggered, right? Now, if there's somebody who she's close to, maybe that's an opportunity to listen and explore. But if there's this idea that I'm right and I don't understand, because a lot of the idea, has anybody ever told you that you're always right?
No, because I'm never always right.
No, has anybody ever said my bad? Has somebody ever said you think you're right all the time or you think you're right?
No, but they do think that I think I know more than I actually know.
Why
which is different from being right.
Why do you think they think that?
What I can tell you they've said, I don't have to think, I can tell you what they've said, is that the way that I try to understand the world, it comes in, as I said before, this is what I think I understand. And that statement alone sets people up to feel like they have to prove themselves. So if I walk into a space and something is moving, let's say this is my house, and I'm just like, I feel like every time I come back here, this glass gets put somewhere else. So I come and think, somebody is moving this. Is it you? Are you always, I have a hypothesis. I don't lead with so weird. This glass keeps moving. Maybe somebody will tell me what's really going on. I'll say, I think you're moving this glass. And I'm wrong. No, I'm not. The cat keeps knocking it over. Now it's you know everything. The difference is that the person who also goes, I think this person is moving my glass, starts by saying, why is this glass always moving? And then the person goes, the cat moves it. Now they're relieved from ever accusing somebody. My natural tendency is to say, this is the way I see the world. Am I right or wrong? It doesn't mean that I know it. It means I start with what I think, and people think that I'm saying, this is the way the world is.
And when they
does that make sense?
It does. But when so there's a lot of nuance in energy, in tone, in body language, and follow-up questions,
Absolutely.
And a lot of other things that answer.
And the truth is, I did in fact think they were moving it. You know how I feel. There's no question. There's no room for, I wonder if. My biggest, let's just say, sin in this life is that I am okay with saying what I think and being wrong and adjusting it.
Oh.
But people don't want me to adjust it. They want me to not say what I thought in the first place because they have to live with that for eternity. My brain allows me to go, oh, I'm sorry. It was a cat. I accused you. I'm wrong.
So,
Next, and I'm done.
So you're willing to admit when you're wrong?
Of course.
When's the last time?
Which is why I'm always shooting things out there because I'm okay. I'm a real-time I wouldn't shoot so much shit out there if I didn't ever want to take the shit back.
When's the last time you admitted you were wrong?
Yesterday.
About what? The time?
It was a intimate conversation that I can't share.
Okay.
But I was wrong. And my question was about, I can't even say that part because that's too much. But what I can say is I thought that somebody's intention was I won't say impure, but I'll say unsure. And I was wrong, and I asked directly, and I said, I'm not sure if you want this or this. And the person said, I want this, but you have to give me a chance to demonstrate that. And I said, you're right. I jumped to that conclusion. I was wrong.
Okay. And they would say the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was clear as day. It's exactly what we talked about.
Okay.
I'm a very forward, concise communicator, and that I probably could live in the world of nuance a bit more.
Do you hold the same level of expectations to other people?
Unfortunately, it's not hard for people. It's not easy for people to do.
So here's the I don't want to make this about you or me or just individuals because I feel like we're communicating so many. One of the things I loved about that woman's interview and just conversations, even with myself. Let's say this is the 100th episode, and let's say on average, I have had a 2-hour conversation for each episode. I have watched 200 hours of me talk shit. I have watched 200 hours of me bullshit, obfuscate, deflect, project. I've seen me in a way that I would not typically see me. So I'm thankful for that insight. And I'm not sure that we as people are able to see ourselves in that way because we're making so many assumptions about how we think we show up. Mm-hmm. And then when we move on to another thing or whatever the case, there's an assumption that the other person was interpreting it in the same way. But with Amanda Seales, there was so much contradiction. And I love that because a part of when you're honest, you will be contradictory.
Absolutely.
100%.
Exactly.
And there were certain things that she was saying throughout it. And I was like, oh, I appreciate this, sister. I appreciate this, sister. I appreciate this, sister. Because through the thread, you can see the connection. Now, the challenge for me is, what does the individual do when they go back and look and see the contradictory? How do they integrate that in a way that makes it more whole and more representative? Because real time, hindsight of a real time is rarely actually what the real time is, but that's the story we tell ourselves. So we don't get to replay in the way that we do when we're recording and videoing. And when we're thinking back, we're not leaving room for that unknown, for that ambiguity that exists just innately in the past.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Your line of questioning about the way I show up and being right and wrong and an example of the last time, that line of questioning comes from something that you perceive or believe to be the case, a hypothesis that you're testing in your head. Mm-hmm. What is that hypothesis? What is that assumption? What is that view of me? What is that perception? Just throw it out. Just brain vomit it in my lap.
when I asked you, what did you think? Now, mind you, I don't think this.
Just tell me what you do think, whatever that is.
No. So I was going to get there.
Okay.
I swear I was.
Okay.
I promise to God.
Okay.
I promise to God. When we were a little kid. When I asked you the question, what do you think I heard when you said that about, I can't remember the exact topic, when you were saying something about, I can't remember what it was. And then the last thing was like, you think you know everything? That is what I don't think you think that because I've talked to you enough.
What do you think of me is my question.
I think, I'm going to try to be honest.
Please just throw it on me.
No. I'm talking to somebody who puts a lot of weight on words. So give me a minute to get my fucking words together. Cause I know the minute I got one wrong or whatever, you going. So give me a minute.
What if I promise to give myself 15 seconds of silence to process it before I think?
I still need time. I thank you for the 15 seconds, but I'm still gonna need a little bit of time.
I'm gonna sip this while you think.
I think you find comfort in the way that your brain works and your thoughts and your ideas about things. I think those thoughts also keep you from seeing more of what's there. I think you're a beautiful person. I think that once you give space and time for things to unfold, they unfold in the way that they're supposed to. But I think I think you and I struggle from a very similar thing, which is we're firm on ideas about how things are, and they prevent us from seeing what's there. And that's one of the things that I think I actually appreciate about how you and I communicate, is because we don't have a lot of ego in our conversation. And I think we speak and even impose at times in a way where the other person doesn't feel attacked. And even if we do, we manage it in a way that's non-productive. Mm-hmm. So I enjoy our conversations too, a lot. And I think that they are reflective of those, but I also know that, I'll stop there.
I don't feel like there's anything you could say that would hurt me. Even if you said some really horrific thing, I would think that, I would strangely think, what's behind that? I wouldn't think that you actually believe that about me, because I think I trust you, right? I know I trust you. I don't think I trust you. I trust that you take so much time to understand the person you're talking to, that if you said something that seems so off the mark from our experience in talking, I'd be like, what the fuck? Did you misunderstand something I said, right?
And because you trust me, I also wanted to make sure, because I'm acknowledging constantly my filters. And I want to make sure that when I am presenting an idea or my perception of a person, that I'm doing as best as I can to communicate that with the least amount of me as possible. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that takes a little bit of time. And that's what, like, the Amanda Seal conversation even was. It's a constant practice of me moving me out the way. With my wife, it's a constant practice of moving me. Everything is a constant fucking practice of moving me out the way.
So can I ask you a question about that? Well, first of all, you're spot on. I spend a lot of time asking questions because it kind of goes back to what I said. I just want to know, like I said, I'm 50-50 on it. So what's the other fucking 50 that I'm missing? If I come to the table and I have a hypothesis about a situation, a person, whatever it is, and I go through my thing to understand, and I'm wrong, because I'm wrong 50% of the time, now I'm really curious about what I'm wrong about, and I really want to know more shit, right? So being around me means a level of self-awareness and self-exploration that people just don't always want to go through, because I'm so curious about them.
Yeah.
And by learning about them, I kind of learn about myself.
Yep.
I know how to explore myself. Like, I got it. Like, and I explore myself also when I have these conversations, and to your point, think about it later and go, oof, I wonder if I'd update that. No, I'm going to keep that. I'm going to not update this. Like, it's just the whole thing. But what I think I experienced just now with you is that because I trust that you're not going to throw me away as a friend if I'm so fucking wrong, because I've been so fucking wrong, and you've said things and I'm like, okay, maybe, okay, yes, or no, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
It allows me to not have so many fucking filters when I say things. Like you said, you're always filtering, always filtering. I'm filtering less and less with you because I can just let the raw shit happen, and maybe you'll help me figure it out. What chunks did I blow? Okay, so there's a butternut squash there. There's some wine. Like, let's just go through the vomit, right?
See, I feel like I'm filtering with you, though.
I know, but I don't feel like I'm filtering with you.
So why do you think I feel like I'm filtering with you?
Because I don't think you trust yourself around. No.
So
I'm wrong. So this is me putting my
okay.
hypothesis out. Now you tell me.
I find it interesting that you put that on me.
Okay, we'll put what, the trust part?
Yeah, like, okay. I don't trust myself. You're responding in a way that is causing me to do that.
Okay, tell me what that is.
So I think that's even with the words, even with just a little bit earlier,
okay.
With the then and now, and I was like, oh, here's a person who likes words. There is a, and I can't remember specifically. We're gonna go back and look at this, and you'll see. But you put, like you're precise with your words, and like you just said, you do that with other people. So if you're doing that with other people, that's why I'm filtering.
When you say doing that with other people, you mean being myself?
No, I asked you, you said you were precise with words, and I asked you to do that with other people, and you said, unfortunately, yes. I can't remember exactly what it was.
You asked me if I expect the same from other people, and I said, unfortunately, yes.
Okay, so yes.
Meaning wanting to know the truth, not saying it the way I would say it.
So this is one of them examples. Okay. So, and I don't mind, by the way, because it doesn't cost me anything. I look at it as an opportunity for me to get better at being me, because our connection and our relationship is not dependent upon how I gotta refine a fucking statement to get it across to you. So now if you feel like it has to be presented in a certain way for you, that's fine. I'll get frustrated. Yeah, I'll have, if it bothers me to a point to where I feel it starts to jeopardize our friendship, then yeah, I would say something, but it's never been that, because I'm always looking at how I can do something different, how I can make adjustments to accommodate this person, because a lot of what I'm trying to do is accept. So and it's not all the time, by the way. It's more about, because this is what I do with my relationship with my wife. Like, all of it is so intertwined, I feel. And I'm okay. Like, I don't, so yeah, I feel like I've got to filter and refine and be precise with words because of how you respond sometimes. Because sometimes I feel like you're connecting more with the words and less with the spirit. And I understand that, because that's what I do the majority of the fucking time, right? So, and that's a challenge just in general with communicating. I'm not the best at words. I have a GED. I don't even have a undergrad or associates or anything. I read, but not to the extent to where I have a broad enough vocabulary to be able to communicate, certain things in a myriad of ways. It's just like some of my shit is limited. And I use my love and my commitment and my connection to my friends to create grace so that I can refine when I need to refine. And I manage my own feelings, triggers, to love the person enough to do that without them having to do something different. And then through time, we just work on how we can, either accept it or not, or just move on from it, beyond it.
So am I wrong?
You're
How would
not.
you like me to respond?
No.
Because I only know how to use words to
No, go
ask
ahead.
this question.
Go ahead.
First of all, I did not know that about you. I just assumed you maybe had a master's in something. I don't know. I just assumed that you were basically as formally educated as I am. I would have never guessed, because I don't think the only place to become educated is in an academic setting, right? Even though that's where I happen to be educated, 50% of the time I was educated outside of there too, just doing the damn thing. You know what I mean?
I do consider myself intelligent, though. I do not consider
Because
myself
you're not connected.
I do not consider myself educated, but I'm definitely intelligent.
You're both and, in my opinion,
Okay.
because one of the most difficult things for me is to find individuals where I can have a full-on conversation where we're actually following each other. And I've never had that issue with you. Intelligence isn't born in a school setting. All academia does is help you to harness whatever you're coming in with. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't realize the people who aren't neurotypical or whatever.
Valid point.
But yeah, I've been in PhD programs with people who can't pull their thoughts together as well as you. So thanks for sharing that. I don't know if you knew you were sharing anything, or maybe you thought I knew that.
I thought you knew, but
We don't talk about that stuff.
we don't.
We don't talk about anything like that. We talk about anything that comes to our brains at the moment. And there was no reason for me to go, did you go to school? Obviously.
And some cool shit comes to our brain. I swear to God, if we could record the last, I would say 3 to 4 conversations we had, they would be, oh man, they're so awesome.
They're deep. But what I was going to say is, I wonder, because you're not the first person who said this about me, that my way of understanding the world comes across very scientific and logical, and I was a scientist, that kind of happens. But what's behind it is trying to understand the essence of somebody,
Yeah.
and all I have is words and visual observations, right? And I'm good at words, so that's what I use. I'm also good at listening and asking and picking up on what somebody said to further it. And what would it look like if anybody, not me, connects with the spirit more than with words? What would that look like to you?
I don't know. I think it's probably more of an energy thing. Like, even when you said I'm not saying this about you, but I'm just saying in general, we think we're something different than we actually are. Mm-hmm. And we're compartmentalized in a way where we're not even being honest with ourselves sometimes about what's going on behind the scenes. And that's one of the things that came up with the Amanda Seals. But that's why the time and the conversation will reveal it all. And that's why it's important when you go and you look back, that's the individual's opportunity to make those connections, to integrate that in a way that makes more sense moving forward, because there are certain contradictions within what we say versus what we're acting, what's showing up. And then the person can use that contradiction to dig a little deeper and be like, oh shit, I low-key do want to be right all the time. Mm-hmm. I low-key, my feelings were hurt low-key when they said that. I lied and said it was just their tone, mm-hmm. and that I didn't like her. It was the way that they said it. But when I actually went back and looked at it, my feelings were hurt.
And I think she's deeply hurt and deeply disappointed, but her survival tactics are not in line with what people want her to do. Her survival tactics, her coping strategy that has gotten her to where she is, don't align with the way people think she should repent or the way she should sue. I want you to cry. I want you to say, in the moment, I'm wrong. I want you to do it this way because it makes me feel like you did it right, when she's trying to figure out what the fuck is going on in her life too. And I think that it's difficult. I'm not a big crier. I manage that early, and I have to unmanage it because I can be feeling very deeply hurt. And you will see this. And I will ask a sensible question to understand why you said what you said. And I will say, that really hurt me. And my face will look just like this. And people will think, oh, wow, you're above it all. And I'm not. But it's either not easy, it's not natural, it's whatever the thing is,
Yeah.
that's the way it is.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people would feel better themselves. It won't necessarily make anything better in my life, but they would feel better if I would just crumble still feeling the same way. But if my expression of hurt and pain was weeping in a fetal position and saying, please help me, if that was my natural thing, I would connect with more people. Because they'd be like, oh, she's giving me something. I feel useful. I feel needed. I can help her. But if she seems like she's got it figured out, it's not because I do. It's just because that's just the way I show up. And I think there are people, perhaps like Amanda Seales and myself, who, because we're in this form, it doesn't align with the way that they want for me to do it, especially as a woman. I can do that, but I really have to trust you.
So
that makes sense. When you talked about energy, some people's energy make me want to do that. And some people's energy it just doesn't incite that in me. And some things are so terrible, it doesn't matter who the fuck is there. I need to cry about this one.
Yeah. So that is the cost, I feel, of contradiction and transparency. Like we if we're being honest and we're just letting the thoughts and feelings and emotions flow, they're not going to make sense in all cases. They're going to contradict each other because as human beings, we've got too much going through us. Now, in pursuit of connection, we're managing the idea of authenticity along with that. And what you're doing when you're engaging with someone or you feel hurt, you have to decide. Like every interaction, every relationship is not with the other person. It's with a reflection of how you feel about yourself on the inside.
Yeah.
So even with Amanda Seales or even like you and you're like, let's say you're with someone and you want to cry. Do you cry or do you not cry? You get to pick that. It's not the person who's necessarily dictating that, I feel. It's the person that's giving you the opportunity to choose whether or not you express that in that moment.
But I will then say to you that you said that the energy I give you makes you filter yourself. So if you took your own advice, it wouldn't matter that I like words and precision, wouldn't it?
No, because I want to be better. My objective is not to be right. My objective is to be better. And my objective is for our relationship to be better. Not at the expense of me being, so I'm okay with filtering. I'm also okay with not filtering and be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna say what I'm gonna say, because that happens sometimes too. I'm gonna say what's on my mind and what's on my heart, and I'm just gonna get it out, and I don't give a fuck how I'm feeling, and that's just what it is, and we'll deal with the aftermath later, right? So a part of that is there too. So I do that as well. What I use is our interaction as an opportunity to reflect who I say I want to be, to reflect the principles and things that are within me that I want to walk with as James Shelby, the man.
So can I ask you for clarity here? When you said you feel like you have to filter around me, I assumed that was an expression that you wish you didn't have to so much, because it sounds a little exhausting.
No.
Okay, so help me understand what that means.
It's not my path of least resistance. That doesn't mean, but again, like I said, it's me using that as an opportunity for me to be better. So my path of least resistance
filtering would make you be better, or not filtering?
No. Whatever's harder makes me better.
Oh, I was thinking about it totally differently. If I'm filtering myself, if Ianessa is filtering Ianessa, Ianessa is protecting Ianessa.
Okay, so
If I'm not filtering, I'm just like, this is how I show up. This is how I show up. Help me, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm just easy and raw and natural, right? But I misunderstood. Now I understand you're saying your disposition might be different. So filtering is a good thing for you.
It is what?
A good thing for you.
No, what is a good thing is what the moment requires.
Okay. Yes.
To connect.
I see what you're saying. Okay. But when you
sometimes,
say, you know what, it was the I feel like I have to with you didn't sound like
no, it wasn't
easy and
so thank you for I don't give a fuck about easy. Easy's for lazy people who ain't looking to grow. Ain't a nigga I know who go to the gym and be like, I'm looking for the easy weights, who's trying to build muscle and definition. I want resistance. I want repair. I want confrontation in a loving, meaningful way. And so if a person, this is my marriage, by the way, for the fucking record, because I'm constantly being challenged to take the alternate path of least resistance. And in order to make this thing work, that is my assignment. And so I don't see that as bad either. I don't see that as costing me anything or shedding anything other than that fat of slight that I have that I don't want to shed sometimes when I want to take the path of least resistance. So if I have to, and this is why I say it doesn't cost me anything to filter. It just might take a little bit more time and I might have to manage a little bit more shit internally. But that's a James problem. That ain't an Ianessa problem. And I never, under any circumstances, want to project that onto you because as far as I'm concerned, the way you show up is perfect for me. Now, if there's something you want to do differently, then that's an internal conversation. But for me, I don't mind filtering. I don't, for the sake of this relationship, and for the sake of being better in that moment. Yeah. Because I don't like, what good does it suit me to be like, fuck, I always got to do this when I'm around with you. And it don't make no sense because.
Now I fully understand everything you said and meant about connecting spiritually versus not. Now it makes complete sense to me. I was not understanding what you meant when you said that. Got it.
Okay. So our friendship is a beautiful thing, and I cherish it, and I appreciate it. And what I have to do to improve that means improving me. And a part of improving me means doing shit that is not my natural disposition. But no matter what my natural disposition, it's not who I am. Who I am is even behind that.
Natural disposition is self.
Yeah. So when we're talking about these archetypes, when we're talking about these ideals of who we are, Black women, Black man, that's not who we are. So when we create these narratives around it, and then we create these, and then reinforce them with education, knowledge, that's how we see the world.
But don't you think that it is, so I don't necessarily, if we're bringing it back to Amanda real quick, the thing that I've struggled with is I don't see myself in the black box the way that people want me to see myself. And part of that is, coming from Canada, being born and raised there and having Jamaican parents. When you come to the United States, you find that there are very strict rules about what Blackness is supposed to be among the largest demographic of Black folks here, which is African Americans, right? And so I'm just Ianessa, and I happen to have these coverings. And while the world will certainly say you must conform here, there, and there, and there are certain rules and regs that I'm not going to buck up against because I know what I look like, right? Same with being a woman. At the end of the day, the thing that's really screaming is like, but you're just Ianessa, you just happen to have this covering. And I found that the black box is a very small, tight, conformist box in this country. And it feels very much like if you aren't this kind of black, you know how many times people constantly say, you ain't black, and they're just joking.
You've heard that literally?
I literally hear it all the time. Even my friends joke and say, we have to keep her black. Yet, whatever y'all going through doesn't sound too appealing right now. Because, you know, like, it's just like, doesn't sound amazing to be in your box. I'm quite happy being wherever the fuck I end up. Just like the conformist of women should do this, women should do that. Can you imagine? That doesn't align with a lot of the way I view of myself. Women should be quiet, women shouldn't this, women should so-and-so, women should defer. If you went by the woman box, it's also conformist. The black box is very conformist. It's tighter and smaller than the woman box, right? Because it's not possible to still be black, but also do all these very, very, very white things. But it is possible to be a woman, do all these very manly things. You can do all these sports, you can shoot all these guns and just do it with a pink gun, right? And you're still a woman, but you can't do all these white things and have these opinions. And I don't even think I would do white shit or whatever that would be. But I'm just saying, like, the concept.
Get a PhD.
Well, there you go. Like less than 0.01% of us, right? But, you know, but that is actually lauded in black communities. It's like, good, you're representing us well. But if you have a disposition that's different, and it can be the smallest motherfucking thing. Like when I moved to Florida, Lakeland, Florida, in 1990, I went back in time 30 years from Toronto, Canada. Somebody said something about grits, and I didn't know what they were because we ate porridge. And I was like, grits, what's that? And she goes, you don't know what grits is? And you black? And I remember thinking at 14, I'm never going to get the rules and regs. Just never going to get them. And mind you could say, well, that's them in Polk County, Florida. But it continues today. It doesn't go away.
Yeah.
I remember being someplace with a colleague, and he was white, male, and attractive. And the way this dude pulled me aside to say that what a beautiful black woman should and shouldn't be doing was astounding. The fact that this strange man, who happened to have my same covering, felt that we were one enough for him to reprimand me for being with someone who he thought was romantic but was in fact a colleague. We may have been laughing too much over a martini. We have zero sexual or romantic anything, but it appeared that way, and it hit his sensibility so much that he was like, get your ass back in that black box, bitch. And I was like, oh, wow. Of course I let him say his thing, blah, blah, blah. I didn't feel any need to correct him. Oh, no, he's just my, good. Oh, whatever, I don't give a shit. All I do is see you in a jail cell with a door open for which you own the key and refuse to leave. What can I do with that? This is in your head. I walked out of my jail cell. Y'all try to push me in there, but I'm just Ianessa, is how I see it. I get to define a lot of things beyond that. And so that's what I shall do.
Being a black American, I have a very intimate relationship with our shit. What was it like for you coming over and then kind of, I feel like in some, in my mind, I'm imagining like somebody being dropped into a territory with little familiarity on really what's going on. Like there's a surface relationship, an idea with what's going on, but like once you're there, you're like, oh, what the fuck? Like, what was that like?
I felt like I had never thought about race so much in my entire life. I remember my first day of school, it was in junior high, and I'd never seen self-segregation in my entire life. So Toronto is supposed to be one of the most diverse spots on the planet. And so I grew up with so many different languages, and it's the thing you think you hear when people go to New York, like, oh my God, it's so diverse. And then there's Toronto, right? Where I was especially. School had everybody. Half the people there just got here and didn't speak English and was learning from me, their classmate. Like most of the people who did parent-teacher conferences, they translated for their parents.
Wow.
I wanted to be them, be like, she got all A's, and she's amazing, and you should love her forever and get her all the Barbie she wants. Like I would translate that way. So I was like, what an advantage. Nobody gave a crap about who didn't speak English, because nobody did in the part of Toronto I was from.
Okay.
And then I moved to the United States, where I heard people screaming out things like, speak English. And I remember thinking, why? Who cares? I didn't understand that. And there was one Indian person, and everybody else was black or white in this high school. And I went to the cafeteria with my tray. All the white people were there, all the black people were there. I had no idea where to sit. You would think I'd go, well, sit with them. But I'd never had to do that before. So I sat with the one Indian girl in the middle. Her name was Pam Rajendran, still Facebook friends now.
Awesome.
And we just became friends, because I think she maybe was like, well, I don't know where to sit either. You know what I mean? And that's how it felt. It felt a lot like, these people look like me, but I don't really fully know if I'm accepted. Also, I moved to Florida at a time where people still had jerry curls and a lot of like finger waves and things. And I had just a big kind of like Afro puffs, like I didn't perm my hair. And they kept asking me what was wrong. I was bombarded with 14 and 13 and 15-year-old girls asking me, when was I gonna hurry up? And I was just like, I never had to think about that.
Was black an identity in Toronto?
Your ethnicity was your identity. I was Jamaican. I was Canadian Jamaican. I'm Canadian. I was Canadian. But where are your parents from was a common understanding. So it was like, are you Caribbean? And there's so many different kinds of Caribbean that Jamaican is just one of them. So it was just like, where are your people from, basically?
More so than what your skin color was.
Exactly. Almost all the black people there were Caribbean. So we only talked about who's Trini, who's Grenadian, who's from Toronto, who's Jamaican, who's Guyanese, who's that. And it was a community of love. There wasn't competition among that blackness. It was just we all chose to come here within our generation or just one generation before. So it was about what happened back home. I knew more about back home in Jamaica as much as I knew in Toronto, because that's what everyone around was talking about, what it's like at their home. If I went to my Indian babysitter, my Italian babysitter, my Greek babysitter, because they were all the babysitters. Everyone who was at home, who was a mama, was somebody's babysitter. You hear about what is, well, in Greece, we have this, and you try this, and so. That's all anyone ever talked about. It wasn't about the history of Canada, because didn't nobody know the history of Canada. We knew because we went to school in Canada.
Right.
But they just showed up, and they were just working class immigrants trying to make it.
When you come to this country, I get the sense, especially even when I travel, white supremacy, racism has done such a number on black folks, black Americans, in a way that is just, they don't get to see that they got the keys. And we've normalized certain behaviors. We've instilled certain ideologies about who we are and who we want to be, where it's hard to be like you're looking for the keys and you can't fucking connect to the fact that they're in your goddamn pocket.
It's like you keep hearing this jingling. Where's this jingling come from? Every time I walk, jingle, jingle.
And you bet not tell me they're in my pocket.
Because now you feel like a fucking idiot, so you have to justify being in the jail cell.
No, because then I gotta to acknowledge that they're in my pocket.
Means you have the control this whole time. Click those heels, Judy. You could have gone home this whole time.
I also have to acknowledge that I have work to do, and a different kind of work. And the work is going to be different depending on the individual. Even with Amanda Seales and her association with it, all of these boxes, no matter what, let me say something different. To be human is to be in a box.
Mm-hmm.
You can't exist in this form without being in a box.
Mm-hmm.
So we all have to be in that's what it means. What boxes you choose, what forces compel you to choose those boxes is what we're actually what I feel we're talking about in a lot of cases. we're promoted to talk about the box of race. We're promoted to talk about the box of gender. We're promoted to talk about the box of, being American, nationality. So a part of breaking away or expanding or choosing something different, whatever term you want to use, is accepting the fact that to exist means to be in a box, and then to ask yourself, are the boxes you're being incentivized to pick reflect who you really are, and do you have the capacity to choose different boxes? And do those boxes lead you to accepting the boxes that other people choose?
That's hard.
That's a filter that I've been using that I haven't always used. And that's a part of the force that I feel between men and women, and the challenge that we have to coexist and to cooperate and to thrive as a unit. And I don't, and a part of the metrics that we're using as men and women now and how we integrate is just completely fucking flawed, I feel.
How so?
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
You were married.
I was.
You're from another country.
Mm-hmm.
Is your husband from another country?
No, he's from Virginia. My ex-husband is from Virginia.
My bad, thank you.
Okay.
My bad. Ex-husband. Why'd y'all get a divorce?
The short answer is that I felt like I couldn't be my fullest self and experience emotional intimacy with him to the degree that I wanted to. And I made the decision that we probably have grown apart enough that I didn't want to spend another 20 years, because we were married for 20 years, trying to grow back together, because I wasn't clear that that's what he definitely wanted to do based on actions. And I didn't think it made sense to try to force something that he may not have really wanted to do, and that I, at that point, knew I didn't want to do. So I initiated the divorce for that reason, as the underlying thing. That's the underlying decision that I made. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. There are all kinds of things that you can bring
surface
up.
Joints,
yeah. That all stem from that. But the soil that the seeds were planted in, the roots, they're together, but the trees grew this way, right? And so, the question at that point is, do we want to try to grow back this way? Do we want to try? And I decided that I wanted to do something different.
Now, and that underlying piece is what I feel, and it's not a judgment towards you, and please don't, because I get it, I understand it. I'm divorced too, right? Like this ain't, I'm in the boat with y'all, like this. But there's certain images and thoughts and stories that are being told to us about what we should pursue, why we should pursue them, and what the opposite sex's relationship is to that pursuit.
Yeah, we're not giving each other a chance. I don't think we are.
And we're not willing to examine the self enough, I feel, in a lot of ways. Like, as much as I love that woman, like I love her energy. She's a beautiful woman. I feel that. But I just feel like there's a cost associated with that course of actions and decision making. And I don't think that our society does an honest, accurate job of conveying what the cost is associated with it, because she gets to hide behind, people in her position get to hide behind resources like money and this and that and the third.
Who are you talking about right now?
Amanda Seales.
Oh, I thought you were talking about your ex-wife. I was like, I don't think I know
Oh
her.
shit, my bad.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
no.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so there is a cost, and they can hide behind money, but they also can't. Because ain't nobody asked me to go on Shay Shay talking about my whole thing because I'm unknown, right? So,
But you can adopt her ideologies.
Right, but I don't think that hiding behind money has ever saved anybody who's really struggling with anything.
Long term, no, but so that's what I mean. Like even with women, like people now talking about chasing bags, and men like that concept is short lived. It's a very temporary thing, and we're making decisions. We're making short term decisions without understanding the full ramifications of the long term impact. And our generation is that generation where we are. My mom, I don't want to put all the business on the street. My mom is single. My mom more than likely will transition alone.
What do you mean by alone? You mean without a romantic partner?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that alone?
Yeah, to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like people who don't have a romantic partner are alone?
I know that when Rissy Cat was transitioning, no matter how many people were there, she and I had some very intimate conversations about decisions that were made and about what it feels like to not have a partner advocate and take a role, and to have the external forces around her perceive someone not being there. It hit totally different than a way than she had ever imagined. And that's not to say that she didn't do that's not to say she didn't do the right things to get, I'm just saying that the idea of even with resources, even with support, even with family, that it very much touched her to not have a partner.
I think, however, that for me, that feels like a jail cell that I've left. And that concept. So, we talked about jail cells. They're attached not just to race or whatever, they're attached to rules and regs that people expect of you. And for me, I fully believe that if I end up being in a situation where I pass or I'm close to passing, and I don't happen to have a romantic person in my life, that I won't feel like it would be easier or better somehow, whatever, if I did. I think that I can hang my hat on having had good memories of them and knowing that those people are here. I don't think that they won't be there. I think that's the difference. I don't think that any person I've had a romantic relationship with won't be there in that moment for me.
But
I think that maybe if I've never had any significant person, I would feel like that's one thing I wish I had done in my life, right?
My bad, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I think that, but not I think, that's a point that she was also making. There were people around. And I don't want to speak for her like with any degree of certainty, because it won't fully encapsulate what she was trying to say. what I interpreted her spirit to convey was that she wished she had someone there.
At that moment, that she had a romantic relationship with
That she
a deep partner.
a life partner who she was sharing and building a life with, who was there making decisions, advocating, stepping up. Now, and I'm there, but other people were there who had closer, but it's in her spirit, in her perception of all of the dynamics that were at play and how she's managing what's going on inside of her. And what you write down on a piece of paper when you're talking about who this person is and that person, are you married and da 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 da, like the spectrum.
The healthcare system makes you feel alone, is what I hear you saying. Because I'm guessing that if she was dying in the house she grew up in a neighborhood where everybody knew her, and she maybe was married, maybe she's a widow, maybe whatever, and she had a whole bunch of other people around, the community around her, that might have felt differently. But yes.
But that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's a totally different. So connect with the spirit of what I'm saying. Like there's a.
I'm kind of responding to that because I might be a little disappointed in men right now in my life. And I might not have completely realized that. It's really difficult to be in a space where you're disappointed in men, but you want a man who's a partner. So you have to keep bucking up against this thing. Does that make sense?
It is.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful that you articulated that and were honest about it. What are you disappointed about in men?
I think that the way that the world turned out in these last 10 years or so didn't help women to be able to voice their concerns, like Me Too and that kind of stuff, but didn't help men to be a good sounding board, or men didn't feel like a partner in that movement. They felt like a target in that movement. Men who didn't do shit to women felt like targets. So I think the movement fucked up a lot of shit. And so I think men are going through their own mini emotional response to that in the same way white people are going through their response to the George Floyd shit. You know what I'm saying? You hear them on TV like getting rid of fucking a women's program that helps black businesses. This is not about that program. That program's been around for 20 fucking years. You're mad because you had a backlash and you were to look at yourself. And I'm not mad at them for being mad. They're on that side right now, right? But I think that men never really had the capacity to be just soft and gushy and emotional other than very tight circumstances. And now that the finger is on them, well, you might be this, the defensiveness is out of control. And it takes so much longer to get a man down from that, to be a real partner and to have that emotional maturity than it used to be. Does that make sense?
100%.
Okay. Like men will give me a compliment, then apologize for it. Now I feel like, fuck. You know, like, you look beautiful. I'm sorry if that offended you. Like, are you fucking kidding me? I feel flattered. Like, okay, these days I don't know what I'm doing. And now we're not talking about the next thing would have said after you look beautiful. We're talking about fucking Me Too and the fact that they're not pervs, which I never thought. So now I'm walking them off the ledge of someplace I didn't put them on, but because they don't know how to behave, we spend too much time trying to deal with the societal issues instead of who we are as people.
What Me Too did for me was, it was the first time that my idea of how I showed up was challenged. That I allowed my idea of this archetype of man be challenged. Mm-hmm. And because it was the water in which I swam, I didn't understand how it was showing up.
You didn't know you were in salt water and not fresh water. There are other options. I get it.
I had no idea. And I am thankful for that movement, for it gave me an opportunity to reflect back to me how I had been showing up since I was a teenager. And a part of what women, I feel, are witnessing in some instances, I'll speak in mine, is a shame.
100%.
An actual shame for that behavior. And how...
Thank you for that.
And how blind I was. And hurtful and demeaning. But I had to put myself in a position to even be wrong
On something that's so negative, and it would be such a stain on you as a human being.
Me and my sister friend, Shay, Arma, love her to death, we were in this crib and we talked for like 3 hours. We were outside at the on New York Avenue arguing in that like where you walk across.
Yeah, the median.
Arguing like we were beefing. And the fact that I had a friend who loved me enough to push past my patriarchy, to push past, and I hate using that term, I fucking hate it, but I'm using it in this instance, to push past my blind spots, my narrow thinking. She loved me enough to do that, to see how I was showing up. And once I did, that did not feel good. And so the shame that I was feeling from that had to turn to love. And sometimes that transition isn't made by men in a lot of instances. So
Say more about that.
Huh?
Say more about that.
We just stick. You know, what does
transition is made by who then?
The transition is made by those who want to transcend, who want to do more, who want to do better, who want to expand, who want to connect more.
Did you say the transition isn't made by men?
Isn't made often.
Oh, okay.
From the shame.
Sure.
For those who witnessed, for those who recognize the error of their ways, it's a lot of us who could be titled something, who will never be titled that thing, because that's the thing
I'm pushing against, that exact thing. Oh, you just encapsulated it so beautifully, which is you get to a point with a man where a conversation is being had, and you might ask a question or call them on something, or they call you on something, whatever it is, a natural path to organic knowing each other. And the desire to not be seen as a guy who supersedes what was really seen and said in that moment. And that's when I go, I have to decide, do I want to push with this person like your friend in the median? Or am I setting myself up for a life of this conversation and I just don't have it in me? Do you know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to do that shit in some way that I don't see. But what I can't do is get a man to see that the word you don't like, the patriarchy, has got him in the left nut. And it's hanging on for dear life. And only you can extricate that shit.
You know what we can't do?
What can't we do?
You know what we can't do?
What men can't do?
Yeah.
Okay, what?
We can't get y'all to see how your reaction to it
keeps you from getting there in the first place.
And perpetuates it.
I hear that. And, not but, and it's difficult for the person who's been a victim of a perpetrator to behave in such a way such that the perpetrator will figure it out and stop being a perpetrator. Does that make sense?
100%.
So now we have to do more shit. We have to do so much shit. I can't go for a fucking run at night. And if I do, what were you doing? You know how men are. You can't do this. What were you doing? You know how men are. I don't have it in me sometimes to do one more thing to help men not be the version of men that they say they don't want to be, but needs to stop being. Sometimes that's where my brain goes, right?
Right.
And then you say, do you wait for that one person, die alone? Or do you just try? And that takes me to the conversation about not being right. And it was along those lines, right? Which was like, I felt myself doing that thing. I felt myself saying, I can't do this.
So
To the point with her saying she doesn't date regular men. Amanda Seales, right?
I did not like that at all.
I know you didn't. I know you didn't.
I did not like
I know
that.
you didn't, and I hovered and Instagram over sending to you. I was like, don't do it, do it, don't do it, do it. He can handle it. He can't handle it. I don't know what kind of guy. Maybe I don't know him that well. I was like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's go. Because I just know that when I hear a man say, I don't date regular women, I want women, I feel like, yes. I'm like, thank fucking God. There are men like you out there.
That's stupid too.
I think it's amazing.
No, it's not. It's not.
Tell me why it's not amazing.
It's not. But hold on, we're gonna pause that and go back.
Okay. I don't know where we're picking up on recording, by the way. Okay.
We've been recording. God, I missed my train. That's another thing. I'm learning to let go of ideas, which is hard for me, by the way. We're all regular. And the language, I don't think we're all regular and we all need one another. And we all are trying to find ways to manage our relationships. And certain relationships in our society have certain value, have higher value over others, but that's the challenge. And so there are things that men need too in the relationship that oftentimes we don't feel like we can voice because we're scared to even ask for it, number one. And because of the guilt and shame associated with how we've shown up in certain instances, we feel like we're not even entitled to, because it all fits so neatly into reinforcing this idea of the man. You just do what you're supposed to do. You show up. You put your needs to the back and all of that. And so in the end, where this man is trying to get up and show, because it's patriarchy. So that means, guess who the fuck is responsible for patriarchy? A man. Even if the man is a victim of the patriarchy. So there's little nuance allowed in the conversation with his woman or what's going on. So he's looked at the one. So the best thing I can do is just take all that bullshit that I got and feelings that I got and put it to the side and just show up as this thing that I got now. And God forbid I ask her to do something different. God forbid I ask her to think about my feelings. God forbid I ask her to make space. Because it's patriarchy. And I represent that just by my fucking being, right? So how do I say that while still, how do I say it, number one? And how does the woman receive that without feeling like the man is respecting her position and how all of the other shit is impacting her? Because most of the time when a woman is looking at what the man, like as an example, when women are born, do y'all know what men want?
When we're just born?
No. See?
Well, when you said when women are born, do we know what men want?
No, that was I was adding another question.
No, we learn what men want from society telling us, or men telling us.
So men tell y'all what we want. Okay.
Mostly Hollywood driven by men. But
Okay. So do you think men know what women want?
Yes, I actually do think men know what women want.
Do you think women know what men want more than men know what women want, or
Yes.
equally?
I don't think it's equal, but I do think men are smart enough to know what women want, because at some point they've been with a woman who said this is what she wants. And they have sisters, they have moms, they hear what women want. Hollywood shows what women want as much as men. Janet Jackson, let's wait a while. You know, like there's so many songs that say, you know, I know you want this, but I want that. That's literally there's the rub, right? That's the thing. Why?
Do you think men think that women know what men want?
Do men think that women know what men want? Yeah, I think that women are very aware. Men are aware that women know what men want.
What do you think a man wants?
What I think a man really wants? I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
I think what a man really wants is to be seen. I think what a man really wants is to be safe. I think what a man really wants is to be able to drop everything and not be called a weak-ass pussy and all these things that are associated with showing up exactly as you are. That's what I think they really want. I think, however, what they're allowed to put out there almost is the opposite of what they want. Like they have to go at it in a different way. They have to start to get you this way and then somehow make the transition and hope you don't leave when they show you who they are, or even if they don't know who they are, they want to be able to explore that in a safe space as they try to move away from that patriarchal way of showing up. That's what I think. Am I wrong? Am I right?
It's good. That's good. For me. Are you able to provide that?
This can go back to the thing that you don't believe in. You are extraordinary, you're not regular. And the thing that makes you extraordinary, James, Shelby, is that you said what you said to me. You said, when Me Too happened, you felt ashamed. You said you tolerated a 3-hour conversation with somebody in the median and you didn't walk away and say, man, fuck you, bitch. You did all the things. Well, you didn't say that, but I'm putting that on you. I'm putting it on you.
I have never called a woman a bitch, by the way. Not to her face. I say it to my homeboy sometimes, but that's never.
No problem. You can't say that. Because women can be bitches, no question about it. But you have told me in the past that you have, even before, us talking about Me Too, you've said over and over again about how you analyze what you want to do, what you don't want to do. You even said men are in charge of the fucking patriarchy instead of saying, but y'all like it though. Like, you have managed to figure out how to be a man that shows up in your skin and says, these are the ways I've been conditioned and these are the things I'm trying to decondition. That is an extraordinary person. Period. I don't care if you live under a bridge or a mansion. I don't care if you're born of a wealthy family or not. I don't care if you are the most attractive 10 or 1. It doesn't fucking matter. Any man who managed to do that is a small percentage of human beings. For that person, can I show up? Abso-fucking-lutely. Can I provide that? Yes. As I said before, I don't think I have the capacity to provide it for somebody who doesn't want to try. That's where I struggle. And I don't know that in a romantic relationship that would be fulfilling for me. I think in friendships, I do that all the time. I have a lot of friends who happen to be male who I have no romantic encounter with, or we did years and years ago, and they're married, they have their own thing, and we can do this. I can show up for them as they struggle to even see it, because I don't have to make decisions with them as a woman. Their decision making doesn't impact my life on a daily basis. I don't feel stunted as a woman because I'm trying to get them to grow. But in a romantic relationship, I require the person who's at least willing to think about how the patriarchy has affected them in the same way that I'm thinking about the way the shit's affected me. Because I want them to put me in my place too. Because they see things in a way that's so valuable that I can't see. But if I'm the only one receiving that, but I can't share it, then I don't think it's useful.
So how do you get, there's a process to get there. Mm-hmm. And it's not clean or clear.
No, it's not.
But it's available. Mm-hmm. And my wife and our relationship teaches me the importance of showing up regardless of how the other person shows up.
And she is your wife.
No, before that.
It doesn't matter.
No, it does. It does.
No. Before, wait, at some point when you knew her, before you were just, hi, my name is, at some point when you got there, even if you're just friends, you built some kind of rapport where you were just like, we're going to help each other through something, even if just friends. Regardless of the fact that you ended up being married, you had that. And what I'm saying is there are people who, to answer your question, can I provide that? You meet them, you're going out an event. Let's say this next thing we're going to go to. There's somebody who seems great. We exchange numbers. And the whole conversation is about how there's not a problem. There's nothing to do. I'm not going to try with that person.
Of course,
I'm gonna be friends.
that's an extreme. Yeah,
No, it's not actually. I wish it was.
Like there's not a problem?
There's not a problem.
Okay,
Men have roles, women have roles.
Okay, so.
That's it. And I don't know why we're fighting nature out here. Like that whole thing. There's nothing for them to grow. There's money to be made. They want to make some more money. They want to get some more followers. They want to do, like that's growth to them. And so I'm not here to tell you no on that. But I don't want to be your partner. I don't want to be in a romantic relationship with you. We can be friends and never go there. I don't think I can help you that way because I don't think that you're willing to drop the veil. That's what I think's happening.
So in the Demoralization of America clip that I sent, there's no amount of data that we are going to be able to share with the other person to get them to change their mind.
That's true, 100%. They have to want it themselves.
As a man, as as a man, as much as this statement may lack fullness, I blame us for the way things are. 100%. And a part of me acknowledging and owning that is committing to someone who I know pushes back, bites, disagrees, are all of the things that are opposite. Oh, like we're not willing to acknowledge that we're sick, that we are flawed, that we're fucked up innately, like fundamentally, right? And so we're looking for people who might have less flaws, less issues to make us feel a little bit better about engaging and committing in that way. But in my mind, I think of my mom. Who was taken advantage of at 9 years old. And how that fucked up her whole trajectory and value system of men and all of that. I'm that. And I have a responsibility to put out the energy that is designed to repair the ills associated with that. And that means, to a degree, dealing with a motherfucker like Amanda Seales. Like, and choosing to just, that energy, that motherfucking fight, that this, that third, that comes from somewhere. And women are looking at men and saying, I'm looking for a super irregular dude. Every nigga is regular. We're just doing irregular things at different times. I'm telling you. I listen to the men. I listen.
Well, doesn't it matter though that the person that you are trying to get with sees something different? Doesn't that mean anything?
It does, 100%.
Because at the end of the day, if I see that somebody, and I'm just letting you know, whoever's beyond regular and spectacular to me can be regular shit for somebody else. It's about what I see. It's not about what somebody, it's not that there aren't objective boxes of regular and irregular and everyone goes objectively yes, irregular, objectively yes, regular, right? We're not talking about shoes.
But what makes them irregular though, Ianessa?
I just described for me what makes them spectacular.
What makes them, okay, so understood.
So for me, that's what Ianessa needs because we can grow together. I know we can grow together. If you are the kind of person who's, to your point, open to not being right, but also better, right? And being right means going along with the patriarchy because it's law, it's policy. There's rules that keep it in place. Just like capitalism. Is capitalism right? No. But is it the law? Yes. There are rules in place to keep poor people poor and rich people rich. You will always be right if you follow the law as a rich person. But it's not better, right? So if somebody can see that difference exactly as you said it, which saying, look, I know that.
But what if they don't see the difference?
Then we should be friends. I want to be friends with them. I want to continue to be friends with them. I want to continue to have these conversations. I can't give I'm going to say the word softness over to that because I'm at risk of maintaining more callous. I don't need any callous in my life. It's so easy for a woman to be callous and hard and mouthy and fuck you and so. It's very easy because it's all we have. We don't have the brawn. We don't have the fucking guns. We don't have the law on our side. All we have is our fucking mouth.
So what's the cost to that?
To what?
Being callous. What's the cost?
The cost of being callous is never realizing the beauty of what it is to be flawed and love a flawed person. Because you're only going to ever pick at the problems in yourself and them. And that's a terrible place to stay.
So why stay there? Regardless of how the niggas show up. Regardless of how the niggas show up.
That's not what I'm saying is everybody, in the same way that there are some men who say, I need to be with a woman, and I've heard this 3 or 4 times, literally just this year alone. I need to be with a woman who has something going for herself. I don't want to be with a woman who sees me as the man who needs to provide. That's not for them. I don't know what their triggers are, but that's just not what they desire. And there's something about themselves where I don't want to be in that space. I've been there. I don't appreciate that. Maybe those are regular women to them. I don't know. But that's not what they want. So I don't think there's anything wrong with them saying that's not for me. And what I'm saying is there are some things in men that aren't for me. And that's one of them. If you don't have a, as I say, growth mindset, when it comes to those kinds of things, and I guess they're regular. But if you don't have a growth mindset, as they say, then it's not for me because I'm always wanting to grow and be better.
But hold on.
So I guess maybe I'm not understanding what you're pushing back on exactly.
I'm pushing back on the concept of this endeavor being something that you discover. That's what I'm pushing back on.
What endeavor being something you want to discover?
Finding somebody. I think this is something that you create, that you choose. And through your choice, you create it.
Yeah, and it's my choice.
So
I think maybe I'm doing that thing where I say we're saying the same thing.
So no,
because
I think we're saying very different.
I think I'm choosing to not be with somebody who fundamentally I have significant difficulty with connecting with. I on a romantic level, I don't feel that thing for them.
There you go.
I don't feel that thing,
Thank you for saying that.
I'm attracted to people who love to learn and grow and have something to share and want to hear stuff. I'm not attracted to people who feel like they've made it. I'm good. I can coast here. There's somebody out there who loves that about you. I can be your friend and I can be a best friend to you, but I can't fall in love with you because I don't get the butterflies. I don't get excited about talking to you.
So this is what I'm saying.
So I know for me that's something that's not interesting.
Okay. Thank you. Glad we're here. You won't feel it.
If I force it with the wrong person.
You won't feel it.
That's right. I won't
No, you won't feel it.
Ianessa won't feel it.
Ianessa won't feel it.
If I force it with the wrong
No,
person?
you won't feel it, period.
Yeah.
You won't. Like you said, if you don't feel it, you won't feel it. I won't feel it. See, what we have.
Oh, you're saying I'm prejudging the won't feel.
Yeah, and you're saying, oh, I need to feel. What I'm hearing you say, there's something that you need to feel in order to invest.
What I'm saying is, if I don't feel romantically charged by you.
That's the feeling that I just referenced.
Yes.
You need to feel something in order to invest.
Yeah, I don't see how that's anything other than if I don't like the way this food tastes, I'm not going to enjoy this meal.
Okay.
Okay. And you're saying that's problematic, and
Yes.
I should force through.
No, that's not what I'm saying
No.
either. That's not what I'm saying either. See,
What are you saying?
That's not what I'm saying either. Listen, I mean, not listen, but hear me out. Our feelings are lies. They just are. They are. And they cover up what the real thing is. And oftentimes we don't use our feelings to investigate more about us. We just we have a surface relationship with them where we just say, okay, this is just what it is because this is us. And the average person has an idea about who they are, and then they take the feelings that come, the external stimuli, and then they will filter it through the thing that they think is them, right? So if I come to, oh, I don't feel that. Oh, I feel that, or I feel. It's all coming through this foundation of who we think we are, the ideal person, like the identity. That is the problem, I feel.
You feel?
Did you see that? It's the problem because that's not actually reflecting what is our best interest. We don't have a lot of practice of letting things get seep through, to disrupt, to interrogate, to explore. We're just mainly getting it from this point and then reflecting it out. But most of the time, what we're reflecting out are things that are actually designed to dig a little bit deeper, disrupt, interrogate, explore, right? So when I was dating, I was looking for a feeling. And that feeling never came. And if it did come, it came in a form that was not the healthiest. It reflected something else. The reason why I chose my wife, because it was the most fucking uncomfortable thing to pick. It's the hardest thing I've ever chosen. And I could be wrong, by the way. I don't think I am, but there's room. I leave room for everything all the time. But I know what my commitment level is. I know what I'm going to do. I know what my reaction to shit is going to be. I know why I'm here. And that's what I'm controlling, right? So it's hard, but it wasn't the feeling that was compelling me. It wasn't the feeling that I thought I was looking for. It was the choice. And what I found out, by the way, through choosing that discomfort was that she had been doing that for me too when I really started to peel me apart. Because she was like, oh shit. She was looking out for a nigga. She was putting stuff to the side. She was trying to address this. Like, she was loving me when I wasn't loving myself. She was giving me grace when I wasn't extending myself grace. Like, all these things that I thought that I was giving her and creating for her, she had actually done for me initially to even create the framework. But very little of it felt/feels good. What does feel good is the idea of the commitment to that process. And that is where the sublayer of the feelings lie. Not here with what's being, but the sublayer of it.
Sure. I agree with everything you said.
Okay, let me shut up then.
No, please don't shut up. I think what you're talking about is certainly reasonable while you're trying to figure out how and why you want this person in your life in some kind of romantic way. And friends can do this, everything you said for you too.
100%, yeah. Good point.
And I don't believe in forcing a connection with somebody for whom I'm not meant to connect with in a romantic way, just for it to be uncomfortable on the other side, right? So that's the extreme end of it. I was married for 20 years, and discomfort is a part of marriage, period. Period, right? Despite all the love and expectation and growth and all the commitment and all the incentives you put in and all the compromise, you still have the discomfort never goes away. But the question is, do you want this person? Do you want them? Do you want them? Do you want them? And if I don't want a person, like I don't find myself wanting you, thinking about you in between the times that we've talked, you've slipped my mind and I see, oh, hey, yeah, how you doing? It's been a while. Then you're gone and it's gone. I know I don't have a connection with you despite the number of times we've talked. And I know for me that over the years, so I turn 48 next month, the ingredient for me that always keeps me hooked is that this person is fucking after themselves. This person is like, oh, you're a good example of that. I have many friends who are like that, where they just are in this phase constantly of improvement, self-improvement, whatever the fuck that means for them. Whatever that is for them. You can be an all kind of person. Rich, poor, I've dated so many different kinds of people, but that was always the thing that got me to the point where I was like, I really dig this person. I really dig that person. And I can look past some of the other things you might check on paper. Mm-hmm. If you don't ever see anything wrong with yourself, and you always are outwardly blaming, always it's this, it's that, well, I mean, the government did this to us. You ain't got nothing to, you ain't take no tax money, like nothing. I just have never dug those people. And sometimes even as friends, they fucking annoy me.
Yeah.
You end up, someone becomes your friend just because they're always around. You're like, I don't think I really like the person. I think they're always around. I say, this is my friend so-and-so, but God damn it.
I'm trying to figure out a way for how, and obviously, you know, there's nuance to what I'm saying. I hope that's being communicated.
Of course.
So, there are certain ways in which we interact that just automatically cancels out some people over others, right? That's to me. That
one thing is my deal breaker.
So, women are coming to the table as they are. Black women. Black men are coming to the table as they are. Apparently, people don't date regular people. So if people ain't dating regular people, that means that 51% of people are not being dated.
Not true, because everyone's regular ain't everybody's regular.
So that
you saw something spectacular in your wife. You saw something in your wife that set her apart, that made you say, I dig her.
Can I tell you?
No, but there was something, right?
There's something in a lot of women.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what makes her special?
Tell me.
I fucking chose her.
Okay.
That's what makes her special. That's what makes her special, that I chose her.
We have two very different philosophies, and I think that's okay.
No, but so it's every woman that I have ever dated has been beautiful and special.
But you said everybody's regular, so I don't understand that.
Whoa. In that sense, they're all regular.
By virtue of all being special, they're all regular.
And
all
regular
kings and queens. Is this where we're all kings and queens, which means we all peasants?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, let's go with that. So what makes my wife special isn't her doing anything other than she is who she is.
Yes. Yeah.
As is everyone else, if we are able to view them without our projection. So what makes my wife special is that I have committed to being with her and in my life, my energy, my intentions, and focus.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Do you think that it is the case that when a man and a woman are interacting outside of rape, women decide if there's going to be sex? And the assumption is men are often more likely ready to go and willing to have sex before the women. And then when it comes to commitment, women are often more likely and willing to move toward commitment, but men decide if there's going to be a commitment on it more so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That helps me understand your perspective better because I view my body that way.
I view mine that way too.
I view my body in that I'm deciding you're special because I fucking let you fuck me. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing special about your dick. Didn't even see until I already decided. I have no idea. But you're special for that reason. But that's because I get to decide.
Yeah.
And I hear you saying the reverse, which is I chose your ass.
Yeah.
So you're special because I chose your ass.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But women, and I can't say that this is across the board, women often aren't doing the choosing for the commitment. Does that make sense? They're not.
I don't think women ever do.
That's
Let me rephrase that. I think they rarely do.
I was trying to be like where you are. I'm not going to say women never do because there are relationships, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I know some. There's always going to be the one person.
Of course.
I didn't. On average, the men choose, which is why you see the world that way. I don't think that very many men walk around saying,
I disagree though with
100 women are special because I fucked them. I think that they feel like, oh good, I'm glad that she let me, as opposed to the reverse.
So the origin of that statement is relates to the feeling. And what I'm saying is the uniqueness isn't the feeling, it's the choice. I
understand what you're saying, but I'm talking about a different time at which that you decide to make the choice. At some point, you felt something for her. You loved her.
The first day I met her.
What? Great.
That was the feeling.
You had a feeling. You had whatever that was, however you want to describe it. And there are other people. The first day you met them, you didn't have a feeling at all.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm saying that feeling came from something. You might not be able to say what it is, but that led you to go ahead and continue to talk to her, eventually have a relationship with her, and then eventually choose her.
So hold on.
Right?
So when I first met her.
You didn't just walk up to go, I choose you, this is special, we're going to make it happen, go, and 3, 2, 1, we're married. Like,
that's an over-exaggeration and you know it. But anyway, so we dated. The feeling that there was something that was there, but there were all of these other things that were signaling no. There were all of these other things that were signaling no. We don't have a lot in common. We're very different in a lot of ways. We are like, what's it called? Oil and water. In many senses. But there's something about when we're moving our egos, when we're moving our projections out of the way, our entire relationship. And what's added to that, by the way, is like this element of universe that I wasn't able to recognize in the moment, that was leading me to see this as an opportunity to choose, not an opportunity to feel, but an opportunity to choose. And it made me.
Feelings were already there, though.
Say it again.
That's because the feelings were already there.
But so what it had done is that what it was allowing me to do was to get to the truth of the matter. And the truth of the matter was that it wasn't about feelings. It was about the choice.
Of course.
And I was lying when I said it was about the feeling, because really it was about the fear of choosing. I was afraid of choosing. And I was lying by saying that I had to feel a certain thing because I had been feeling that feeling often. And regardless of how I was feeling, I would create justifications for why I didn't want to choose it. So the feeling, and maybe I oversimplified and left out the importance of the feeling, because it is a critical part of it to a certain degree, I would say. But the choice, the decision, a lot of people I hear, like, it's like when you meet somebody and say, oh, he's a good guy. Somebody, why don't you like him? Oh, it's just a feeling. I just didn't feel like he's somebody I want to date. Now, if you didn't have a good relationship with your dad and you've been out in these streets wilding out dating dope dealers and shit, and then you meet a good dude and you come across that dude and you say, oh, he's a good guy, it was just a feeling. And that's what you're gonna lean on when you walk away from that brother? Is that it's just a feeling? And you're gonna look for somebody who you feel like dating when all of the niggas that you was dating before was dope dealers and ain't shit motherfuckers who was borrowing your car and picking you up late from work like a baby boy type nigga? And that's the measure for your feeling? Okay. Now, because in my mind, that's an opportunity to explore for that woman or for that man or whoever. Because I hear men say this shit too. I don't like dating black women. Why not? Because they don't let you be a man. What kind of fucking man lets a woman not let them be a man? That ain't a woman issue. That ain't a black woman issue. That's a nigga issue. And nigga, you gotta go take that. You gotta go take care of that. You can't put that off on a woman. And so the intersection that's created when you encounter that person is an opportunity to go into the self, I feel, to explore like what's happening inside of me that's driving me to both engage and fall back at the same time, or to some degree or nature. Like that is the moment. And rather it be about the person and what they're doing and how they're not showing up and what they need to do and how they need to be regular and this and that and the third. Like use that as an opportunity to understand like what's going on inside of you to even initiate to get to this intersection. Because more than likely you fucked them. Y'all fucked. Y'all had some type of interaction. You met at a club. Your energy connected you to this person to invest some type of energy with them. That means something. Use that as an opportunity to explore. But rather than do that and look within, we'll be like, oh, there's something about, oh, that dude just doesn't, he's not a go-getter. Or she won't let me be a man. She's not feminine enough. But we're not digging deeper. We're just leaving it at the surface level, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And you are in a space where you've done that. So I think that your perspective reflects that, and it's not wrong. It just feels easier said than done. When you're in the parade, you don't see it, right? You can't see what people are seeing as you walk by. You're out of the parade. I'm in the fucking parade. I'm on a float, and I don't know what people see. Like I don't see myself from that angle. My hindsight is seeing different things that make a lot of sense to me now.
Yeah.
Which was, marriage number one. Those are clear. Being a mom, being a this. I can see those very clearly, but it's hard to see myself in the parade, right? And so theoretically, those make sense. And I have to trust that I've learned something over the years, and I'm actually doing something differently this time. These were not my criteria before. They were quite different, but I've changed.
Okay.
And so my criteria have changed. And I'm in DC, so I have a lot of chance to test my hypotheses.